You shouldn't have done that, guy. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? This is why you don't talk about Bruno. Talk about Bruno one bit. This is why you don't talk about Bruno. Talk about Bruno and his murder plot. This is why you don't talk about Bruno. Talk about Bruno one bit. Because if you talk about Bruno, he'll make sure you're in deep shit. I'm John Renton with the retro view of Strangers on a Train. They're not on a plane because the plane is up in the air and a train is on the ground. Trains can't fly unless they go tumbling off a goddamn bridge into the abyss. And oh my god, oh the humanity, oh the Japanity. Good old MST3K reference right there. But yes, Strangers on a Train, one of my favorite movies of all goddamn time. So much to talk about with this movie. So many facts, so many things to discuss. So much iconic imagery, such great acting, such great dialogue. Alfred Hitchcock, my favorite director of all time. I mean, he's on the goddamn Mount Rushmore. While fully recognizing that Alfred Hitchcock, the man, was a fucking creep to his female leads. I mean, seriously, just Google-fy it, kids. You will see, but one of his best goddamn movies. Sadly, not the most successful movie that he had at the box office. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yes, Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, great goddamn movies. Not just Strangers on a Train, but stuff like this. Spellbound with Gregory Peck, Ingrid Bergman. I mean, and then you have Rebecca, not Jessica, with Laurence Olivier and June Fontaine. But my favorite bit of Alfred Hitchcock stuff that I have, the Essential Collection. Even though you could argue that really this one would be the actual least of the collection. Even though North by Northwest, one of the best goddamn movies that he did. Vertigo. I would argue Vertigo was better. I mean, yes, North by Northwest had that iconic, and I'm going to say iconic quite a bit during this. I do apologize. That plane scene so goddamn good that they reenacted in The Simpsons and was so fucking good. And the birds, Tippi Hedren. God fucking damn it, she was gorgeous. This is getting a limited release for his 60th anniversary. I encourage you guys to check it out if it's in theaters. And then also Psycho. Psycho, by the way, easily his best movie. And then you have Rear Window. Jimmy Stewart upset despite the fact he had Grace fucking Kelly that wanted to do anything for him. Yes, Jimmy Stewart. We would all be depressed having a gorgeous goddess like Grace Kelly wanting to do anything and wanting to cater to our every whim. Look at Grace Kelly. How could you not want to be with Grace Kelly? Grace Kelly was nowhere near Strangers on a Train. But yes, Alfred Hitchcock. So many goddamn movies. And his daughter was even in this as Barbara because they were coming to get her 17 years after this movie came out. This is based on a novel by Patricia Highsmith, adapted by Whitfield Cook, and was written by two different people. One of the names I'll attempt to cover his work a little bit. Raymond Chandler, who did Double D Indemnity. They kiss like dolphins. More MST3K stuff here in The Big Sleep. And then a guy who did Step Down to Terror. Not going to attempt to pronounce that guy's name because it's very difficult. But yes, you have Farley Granger, who was in Rope. And he was also in The Prowler. He was the sheriff in The Prowler. He plays Hi Guy Haynes, not the underwear model, by the way. Not the underwear founder. Nope, Haynes with an I there. He put the I in Haynes, while you put your thigh among some Haynes. He's a tennis star that wants to get divorced from his wife Miriam, and Miriam is I believe the word tramp was used, so I'm just going to say that right there. I think I can get away with saying that. And yeah, she's a big old tramp, a big old bitch, and he wants to basically get divorced from her. And he has a chance meeting with a guy named Bruno Anthony. Bruno, by the way, the name was created by... or the idea of the Bruno character, rather, was developed by Alfred Hitchcock. And Robert Walker, he's got a tragic backstory there. He was in One Touch of Venus. That's what I meant, Venus. I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, your desire. But Robert Walker has his own stuff that I'll talk about here in a minute. But Bruno, the Lindbergh baby, ooh, gaga, I miss my fly, dada. Are you trying to distract us, or are you just seeing out? A little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. So yeah, it's a chance meeting with Bruno. Bruno is clearly off his goddamn rocker from the moment. Robert Walker is on fire during this goddamn movie. He's great because he's so unhinged, but he's so convinced that he can convince people, but he's obviously losing it and totally out of goddamn control. So let's pivot to the fact that Robert Walker really struggled with a whole lot of shit. He died at 32 years old. He's born in 1918, and he died in 51 before his birthday. And that's the real sad thing about it. That's the real sad thing about it. He had apparently he had done really, really well as far as in film, but had been known for drinking and also had been a little bit unhinged, I guess, undiagnosed mental illness, whatever it was. And he spent time in a sanitarium. That was sometime in 48. Got released in middle of 49. Went right back to work, including doing this role. And the thing is that Alfred Hitchcock could get the best out of somebody, even if the aforementioned stuff with the, female co-stars probably shit. Oh, God, why do you have to be such a creep? Why? Why do you have to be such a creep to people, Alfred? God damn it. Love his work, but fuck. But Robert Walker's, true-to-life issues played into Bruno Anthony, who was just a great unhinged guy that just, he's a rich boy, nah. And he wanted his father basically wiped out just completely. So he formulates this idea of a perfect murder. Two strangers that they could both get away with it. And back in the 50s, you could get away with that kind of shit because there was no internet, rarely any fingerprinting. And any fingerprint it wasn't exactly always easy to, identify this stuff unless there was a witness. So there were no witnesses, and they did the stuff. They could just go on their merry way and be all happy. What is a life for two guys? Some people are better off dead. Again, that's why you don't talk about Bruno. But yeah, reading up about Robert Walker is just really, really sad. You have to wonder what he could have been, because he was fucking tremendous here. Absolutely fucking tremendous. From the moment he got in there, he commanded the screen every time he was on the screen. Sandra Morton, Leo, G. Carroll, who's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, you check, I can't list everything everybody's been in, but Barbara Morton, Alfred Hitchcock's daughter, she was also in Psycho, and she lived to actually be 93. I think she died in 2021. Miriam was played by Casey Rogers, who's been good in other stuff. Mrs. Anthony, Marlon Lorne, who, very good character actor. Mr. Anthony, Jonathan Hale. And it's just a lot of really, really great, just a lot of great acting, a lot of great stuff. And it's also a breezy 100 minutes. Great dialogue pieces. You could argue that maybe this shouldn't be reviewed for Horror Movie Month because there's a lot of scary movies out there, but this is the scare of the human spirit. So, the budget was a beefy $1.2 million in 1951. That's big. I mean, yes, there were movies that cost a little bit more than that even back then, but god damn, that would be $14.2 million today. And the gross, now I don't know if this counts for re-releases or it just counts initial, but the gross was only $26.6 thousand. So that'd be about $315,000 in today's money. And worldwide gross of about just under $30,000, which would be $351 grand in today's money. And I would argue, again, one of Hitchcock's finest. I mean, if I had to do a top 10 of Hitchcock's movies, this would be on there. Now, would it be top 5? What would it be? Hard to tell, because he did so many great goddamn movies. Maybe not so much After the Birds, because everybody eventually dips. I don't know if Family Plot necessarily or Frenzy is considered his best work, but the carousel scene at the end actually was not done with trick photography. So pretty much the guy doing the crawl underneath, the old guy. I mean, I'm skipping ahead here. Sorry, the movie's 72 years old. I'm going to be spoiling this. It wasn't done without trick photography, and even Alfred said, "I'll never do something like that again." Robert Walker passed away 8 months after this movie was completed. That's really the sad thing about it. He had apparently completed some scenes for another movie. I don't remember the name of it. I didn't write that down, but it's just really, really, it's really sad. It really is sad. I mean, obviously, drunk, he shouldn't have been disorderly, that kind of stuff, but back then there was stuff that just couldn't be diagnosed. Science had not advanced all that far. Robert Walker, Greets guy, who's a tennis player. He's traveling up to stop at Metcalf, which is a place to meet his, hopefully soon-to-be ex-wife. Bruno hates his dad. They do all this discussion. Great dialogue pieces, great dialogue exchanges. And Guy's like, yeah, sure, Bruno, you have great ideas. You have great ideas. But he ended up leaving his lighter. That plays into the whole thing a little bit later on. And Bruno uses it for evidence. I love how Hitchcock always makes a cameo in his movies, and he made a cameo slinging luggage onto a train, and also storing about 5 pieces of luggage under the folds of his bat. Woo! Woo! So Miriam is a total raging bitch. She's allegedly pregnant with another man's baby. I say allegedly because we never actually see any of that play out. But also sleeps around, but doesn't want to get divorced from the guy because now I have you entrapped, even though it's someone else's kid, and DNA is still way far away, so you can't prove it. You can't prove it. Unless you slept with a black guy. Unless you slept with somebody that was like another race that would be easy to prove. Like, really, realistically, you couldn't actually prove that shit. And the parents are talking, the mother's talking to Bruno. She wishes that he would get into painting, which he would get into some stuff or whatever, but she dismisses a lot of his issues. But the dad immediately says, we need to put him in for treatment before he hurts somebody. They basically put it all out there that Bruno has been insane and will continue to be insane, and as long as he's encouraged, will continue to do insane shit. And so, before it's too late, well, he ends up getting it too late. Miriam gets around, woo, round, round, get around. She gets around, and she is at the Carousel. She's at the carnival with a couple guys. This ain't the tunnel of love. Wait, yes it is. God damn it, L7, you lied to me. That's a deep goddamn cut for music fans. And then they get onto a little island area. Bruno follows. Excuse me, is your name Miriam? You need a light? I'm going to take the light away from you. Chokes her out. And then it turns out actually that Barbara ends up seeing this and doesn't realize it until something triggers her later on. So Miriam's dead. Bruno's like, I did this for you, Guy. I did all this. I did like one funny line, though, from one of the guys that was with Miriam. She's dead. Someone get a doctor. Are they going to get the witch doctor and he'll tell them what to do? Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah. Rise, chicken, rise. Does not look like I was using a staff right there. So, Guy is furious at Bruno, understandably. I mean, yeah, he took care of it, but, ooh. No, we planned it together. You'd be a co-conspirator. You'd be all this stuff. And now Bruno basically says, I want the favor returned. I want you to kill my dad. Here's a map. Here's the key. Mails it right to his house. Guy is trying to explain to his new squeeze, all this stuff just going on. It's just insane. Leo G. Carroll was great, by the way, as the dad. And Guy tries to prove his innocence, because he actually didn't do anything. He knows he didn't do anything. The police are following him, including a guy named Leslie Hennessy. And it seemed like some Hennessy was being drunk during this whole goddamn thing. Bruno keeps popping up everywhere. Pops up at a dinner. Barbara realizes that she's seen him. He's doing this attempted strangulation to show the perfect murder to this old woman. Barbara realizes, oh shit, this is the guy I saw. Oh my god, what's going on? And then Guy tries to still reason with Bruno, but then punches him because Bruno had passed out and he's insane, all this stuff. And then Anne, who's the new squeeze. And I mean, looking at the actress plays Anne, how could you not be attracted to her? I mean, seriously, look at her. Just fucking look at her. But Guy tells her about all this stuff. And now they got to find a way to stop Bruno because he's got the lighter. Bruno comes up with the idea that he's going to go plant that on the island. And, near where Miriam's body was found, when the police go to comb the area, oh shit, no way to prove it, even with the fingerprints thing. So, and the police are talking, better keep on your toes. Something's going on here. So, basically, Guy goes to Bruno's house saying, "Hey, I'll do it," and then goes to Bruno's house. There's a giant doge, giant dog. Good grief. That dog would have difficulty getting down any stair because it was huge. I think it was given 1950 steroids. And Bruno's in the bed. And he says, "Well, I was trying to tell you my dad wasn't here, but I knew what you were trying to do, so now I'm going to get you back." And then Anne tries to go talk to Bruno. Only makes the situation worse. Bruno's going to go plant that lighter on the island and go to the Union Station. Look for the Union label. There are like 3 people watching this at this point that will get that reference. First, they got to play tennis because Guy's a tennis star. He eventually wins this. Barbara ends up distracting Hennessy. And Guy and Anne take off. Bruno ends up accidentally dropping a lighter down a storm drain and apparently uses Mr. Fantastic's double to get that thing, stretch his hand all the way down there and get that. But that gives Guy and Anne just enough time to get on the island. And now boats aren't going to the island all that frequently while the carnival's going on. And then they get to the carousel. Guy and Bruno, and they're battling, they're fighting. There's this kid that's just having a goddamn blast. But then, like, get away from him, trying to ride on this thing. And during the course of this, it starts spinning really fast because the detectives, in trying to either shoot Bruno or Guy, shoot the guy operating the thing, and he pulls the switch, and then it starts spinning around like this. Guy rescues the kid. Bruno ends up getting caught underneath the whole goddamn mess. The old guy that looked like an old-timey prospector from the 1900s, or maybe even the 1850s. There's gold in them there hills, sonny. I feel bad. I'm sure that guy was a very nice individual. But he manages to stop the thing, but the thing collapses. Seemingly crushing that guy, by the way. We never see him again. But Bruno's caught underneath all the rubble and all that. Now, Bruno dies, and the idea is, oh my god, he said that he didn't have the lighter, and the detective's all like this, but then he opens his hand because his body, his muscles relax. He's got the lighter in his hand. The detective says, "Okay, you're free to go. Just come and talk to me. We'll clear all this stuff up," and that's it. That is it for Strangers on a Train, which was fucking tremendous. One of my favorite psychological horror movies of all time. One of my favorite Hitchcock movies of all time. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ricklin. I'll see you soon.